Hey, welcome to the Fordham Masters podcast. My name is John Barrett, your host. Hey, I'm back with a banger. I just think every week's a banger. I'm super excited for every guest we ask on, just because I feel like every guest has something like super valuable to offer, right? So, but before we get into the guests, like we have admin tasks we have to take care of. So please follow us on all platforms at For the Masters Podcast, on YouTube at JB the Masters Podcast. Hey, we're a year in, 40 episodes in. Let's continue to grow the show. Please go on Apple and leave reviews, right? Please rate the podcast on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, okay? And let's continue to grow the show. I'm super grateful and like blessed for the opportunity to like talk to these people that have so much that like add in life, and and I know that they're providing a lot of value to you. So the young man I have on today, he's a believer. He's a fellow Christian, and he has a unique story. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. He's in a very unique space that I think we need representation in, and he's giving his testimony any chance he gets, and he's standing boldly. So without further ado, I'm gonna welcome Imo to the podcast. My brother
Hey,
Imo, how you doing?
thank you. Appreciate you having me, and I'll definitely have to go back and watch some of those episodes. Send a shout out your way for sure.
Nah,
I love the logo or the graphic.
hey, I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it, bro. And like I said, I know this is gonna be an amazing episode. Like I said, like very unique story. So Imo, what's your name from? Like, where are you from? What's your name mean?
Yeah. So my full name's Imoh Ekasi-Otu, and it's Nigerian. So I came to America when I was like around 2 years old, and then lived in Northern Virginia basically all my life. So yeah, the DMV, basically born and raised, but not born, I guess, just raised.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously you came here since you were two. So like you don't really remember how it was in Nigeria too much.
Nah, but I'm planning on going back in September, hopefully, God willing, with my family for a wedding. So that'll be the first time I've been back, and the first time the whole family is going together. So that should be a great trip.
Well, that's awesome. So did you grow up Christian? Like when you like came here from
Yeah,
Nigeria, like your family, whole family's Christian, just grew up in the church.
yeah. My parents, they met through this ministry called Full Gospel Ministry, which started in America but had a big influence in Western Africa and just spread all over. But they met through that ministry, got married pretty quickly after they met, and then like yeah, they won a lottery, went to the U.S., and I think God brought us here or I know God brought us here for a reason. But but yeah, they raised us Christian, and yeah, I was basically just they'd be waking us up at like 6 a.m. in the summer just to pray and worship together. We'd have worship nights where it'd be like 3 hours deep with like other friends or like family friends and stuff. So I was all around it since I was little, and I think that's a big part of my testimony, which we'll get into. But yeah, basically, it's just been a part of my life since the get go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we'll definitely get into your testimony, but there's another aspect of your life that like I think people don't initially think, oh, like that's what he does, right? And so I think
Yeah,
like let everyone know like how you got into skateboarding, and like or just that whole like whatever else you do in extreme sports, like how'd you get into skateboarding?
yeah. So actually, I got into skateboarding when I was like 8 years old. Just like a neighborhood friend like showed me his board, and then my first board was actually it was like a half scooter, half board that you could fold up,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I remember.
yeah. So I don't know. I just tried it out, and I was doing other stuff when I was little, but I skateboarding stuck for me like probably in middle school when like eighth grade I was playing other sports and I got hurt like playing football, and I was like, do I really want to do this? And I
Yeah,
played soccer too, but I was like, I just want to focus on one thing, and I felt like skating was just the most interesting to me because of the unique like I guess like a like solo sport, but you're still in community. But
yeah,
it was just like you don't have to depend on someone else to be like, oh, we won or that was a good time. It's like it's just up to you if you're
yeah,
having a good time or not. So I like that aspect. I wasn't really a fan of rules and all that growing up. So skateboarding, I really drew near to skateboarding.
yeah. I mean, that's a unique sport just because, I mean, obviously it's like a niche sport, right? But it's also like you got to have super discipline while you're in that sport just because, like, you make your own practice, you make your own schedule up to a certain point, So, like, you just loved it and you just, like, took to it, huh?
Yeah, and like honestly, the more I've grown up, I would even consider this like it's weird how once you grow up in it, like I guess like once you get out of like the contest scene as much and like you're not trying to be pro anymore, it's less of a sport and more just like an art or like a way to like
Yeah,
just express yourself. And you're like I like making skate edits just for fun, and it's
yeah,
like just a way to express myself, put the music, the slow mo, all that. So it's just interesting how different people take it or take to it, because a lot of people weren't even hyped on it being in the Olympics and stuff because it's just a weird community where
yeah.
people are like, oh, it's art, it's a sport, like half and half.
That's so cool though. So like, how does this sport work? Like, is it like how do you become pro, and like what's the road there, and like how does that work?
Um, Honestly, I say now it's almost like rapping. Maybe you just gotta get noticed. But you can do it through contests. But I guess if you're around the right people, like if you're in the scene and just find a good crew, make a video, people start noticing you on social media too. You can get pro just doing that. You don't even have to enter contests at all. So it's just there's so many ways you can do it. Like some people just make it through YouTube. There's literally no rules, which is good and bad. But
Yeah,
like there's companies that are like selling more boards than like the biggest skate companies, and they've started off YouTube and they're just selling to little kids because they
yeah.
knew how to market to little kids. So it's like they've made themselves pro. They're not even a part of the real core industry, but like it's just like I don't know. It's just a free for all basically how you can make it.
That's awesome. So what does pro mean? Like, what does it mean to be pro?
I would say pro is just like you have your name on something, you're getting like the not royalty, or I don't know what you'd call it, but you get a percentage when you sell stuff with your name on it. That's what I
Okay,
think
okay.
is pro. I mean, yeah, you can be a pro and get paid just for like doing demos or in competitions, but like once you have like your name on a board or shoe, that's like the real stamp, I think, of like
Oh,
who's like really a core pro.
that's dope. And you're a pro?
No, 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 I didn't make it that far. I mean, I kind of made it to almost the AM ranks because I had a decent company flowing me boards, but like it wasn't AM because they just give you boards every now and then through the shop. So that's a way you can make it too. Is like you get on the shop, company starts giving you boards through the shop, then they reach out to you when they see that you're riding their stuff. But it just didn't get to that point because I don't know, I went to college. There's a lot of different things on my mind, but that's also part of my testimony because I remember growing in college, I was thinking it was because of school and stuff that I kind of fell off skating as much. But really, it's probably because of partying and all of that when I look
Yeah.
back at it. But I just blame school as the reason why.
Nah, most definitely, most definitely. So everyone listening, I've seen videos of Emo skate, and he was a phenomenal skater. I just to talk about it, and he did have a few sponsorships, so he was a phenomenal skater, and still is. Obviously
Yeah,
he's in it for different reasons now, though. So
yeah.
that
I still have my sponsors too, which is crazy. So I'm just
oh really?
I'll take free stuff. Like I still have like some the sponsors I had since I was younger, like the local skate shop, Fairfax Surf Shop, and then Ram Tech is like a bigger ramp company, but I used to work for them, and he just will give me ramps if I want and stuff like that. And then a clothing brand, One Collective, they hook it up. It's a local brand, but yeah, it's just I mean it's still cool just to feel like represented by like it just I don't know. I think being sponsored in skating is almost like joining a team in other sports because we don't have like teams.
Yeah,
So like when you get on a skate team, it's like you're getting sponsored, and then that's like your crew. So you just feel like, oh, people actually think I'm good. It's just a good feeling to be a part of something.
that's so cool. That's so cool. So I would say, like, for you, like, well, and everyone listening, he's talking like in a past tense about it because he kind of like he has other interests now and passions. But like, let's talk about like this. So you came up skating. You had certain obstacles that took you away from skating and things like that. So let's talk about like that, like the obstacles that you had while skating.
Like, should I get into my testimony? I
Yep.
guess or
Let's do it. Let's do it.
okay, yeah, because I feel like when I was skateboarding, I would say growing up, I was like, oh, I'm the 1%. I don't smoke, I don't drink, or like probably throughout middle school, high school, and then I don't know, because I was just trying to focus so hard on being pro. So that was like a
Yeah.
good mindset for me. It's just like I'm not gonna go into the woods by the skate park and just smoke and get in trouble like some
Yeah.
of the other kids were. So I was just out there grinding, and then like when I went to college, I don't know. That's just like a lot of things change in my mind regarding my faith, just because there were just different things that growing up I didn't really like that was forced upon me either by the church, family. I don't know, just different rules like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't wear earrings, you can't wear a hat like going into the church, or I mean, not saying like those are like little things, but there were bigger things like, I don't know, like finding out where the image of Jesus came from in the
Yeah.
Catholic Church and stuff like that, and just realizing like, okay, this isn't like what I thought when I actually look at the history behind a lot of these things. I'm like, it's not really biblically based. But I didn't really look into the Bible for myself either. I was
Yeah.
just like, I noticed, like a lot of people probably noticed just some of the hypocritical or the just the way Christianity was used to control people. So I started noticing that, and then that was just my excuse because I wanted to be part of the world. So I was
Yeah.
like, I still believe in God. Like I never didn't believe there was a God, but I was just like, I don't fully know how to live this life because I don't know if all these rules are necessary or not. So I might as well just go the opposite full direction. And because if I'm not living it out to the fullest, why should I even like
And do it.
have to do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just went the opposite, just didn't care anymore about like um doing things like drinking, smoking, whatever. And then like I just um I went to George Mason and I was like in a fraternity, and I wasn't planning on doing that, but it ended up just being something I fell into. And then because of that, it just made me party more because that was just kind of how it was at Mason. If you weren't a part of a club or
Yeah.
anything, you wouldn't be going to parties. But if you did join, that's like all you did. So it was just an interesting dynamic. But yeah, during that time, like going to all the other spectrum and just kind of seeing everything and trying everything, I just saw towards the end of college just so much like depth in it. And my wake up call was literally one of my boys that was probably like almost had the same birthday. Like his birthday was 2 days after mine. He was like same age as me. We grew up skating. Um, and he was in Warrenton, Virginia, like where I grew up in high school and stuff. And he overdosed on heroin, and he was like doing well. He had a kid. Um, and then I think he just slipped up, and then usually that's how it happens. People slip up and they don't realize they can't handle it, and then they just overdose. So that was like the first really close person that I had pass away from that, but I knew a lot of people in the skate community, and just in general that have
Yeah.
passed away during that time, because that's like when it wasn't really being addressed as much, like the opioids and people doing like Xanax and then going to harder different drugs and from there. Or yeah, different types of painkillers and then going to other different drugs from there. But yeah, so that hit me hard, and I just realized like, okay, I'm not doing these hard drugs. Like I wasn't really doing much, but I still was not being a good influence to the people around me, and I realized I had to just stop everything basically, and stop like going out as much, stop like yeah, just the things I knew weren't Christ-like, so I could be a better influence. Because I did have other close friends, which were the crazy part of my being in the fraternity was I knew God brought me there for a reason. Once I realized the two people that were on my left and right, because they lined us up by height, ended up being the people that I was closest with, but the people everyone hated the most because they were just always getting blacked out, drunk, and just doing the most, and
Yeah.
always on different drugs. And it was to the point where like people didn't even want them to be coming out, but I'd still be chilling with them and I was still cool with them, even though I wasn't doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
But then I saw they were getting into harder and harder drugs and hanging out with the wrong people. So I was like, all right, let me try to be a better example and try to actually help my friends, because I don't want to let what happened to my other boy happen
Yeah.
to them. So then yeah, so I kind of turned around, started going to church again. Um, and
This was in college.
yeah, it's my senior year. So my senior year, I literally started going to like campus ministries like my last semester senior year. Never did it throughout college, and then
Yeah.
like Thursday nights I used to go out every night. Then instead I'm going to Bible study, and I started even having Bible study in my um like house and stuff with some friends, and like we'd be like drinking beer or whatever, but they'd be open to it a little bit. So it was chill, and like that was just me realizing, okay, God's been tugging at my heart for a little while now, because he was putting other things in my face, like just Christian music. I didn't even know about Christian rap till like senior year. Like I knew about like some whack Christian rap growing up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know they were like, oh wait, I can go on SoundCloud and Spotify and find like stuff I like. Like it
Yeah.
was a whole new wave. This is like 2017, 2016. So there's a lot more music and stuff. So that helped me too, just to not have, um, I don't know, just to have more refreshing music and stuff just around me. And it just helped me keep going in the right direction. And then also I started meeting Christian friends that were or Christian people that were around my age group, which I didn't even know was a thing because I was so far in the darkness of like that party scene and everything that I
Yeah.
forgot that there were even Christians like in my age group, because most people would just be making fun of it at that time when I was in college. Like if it was ever brought up, it was just like a joke. So when I started meeting those people, which was divine, which is like a whole nother story, but
Yeah.
like yeah, just God like brought these people to me, and then I was taking my other friends that were in the party scene to realize, oh wait, you can actually have fun with people, and do things without having to be like drunk or yeah, like you can be sober and have fun basically. So that was a good way for me to like really start having a personal relationship with Christ, and like that was when I kind of decided for myself, and it wasn't like, oh, because I grew up in it I must do this, but okay, I'm choosing to do this and I'm reading the word to understand it for myself. And that's like the biggest difference. And that's like someone even asked me the other day at a party, one of my friend's birthday party. She's like, are you gonna force your kids to uh, be Christian or whatever? And I was like, I mean, I believe like taking your kids to church as a while they're young is definitely a must.
Yeah.
And I think people that aren't Christian believe that because it teaches them morals and different things they need to learn when they're young. But I'm not gonna force. I can't force them to have a relationship with God. Like I'll just tell them all the great things about it and where my joy comes from and all of that. But I would make sure they know that they have to have that personal decision and walk in it for it to really transform them. So I'm not gonna just think that I can control that and expect it to work because it didn't work for me. I had
Yeah.
to find it for myself. God has to do it. Like God's the one that saves people, not us. So so yeah, I that was just a random because it literally happened recently. But yeah, so after college, I kind of had waves where I was like in and out of like being really strong in the faith because I was still like, I don't know. I think a lot of it dealt with was I dealt a lot of things I dealt with was because of lust and not really knowing how to navigate that part of
Yeah.
my just my journey, because I don't know, they're just it's just easy for the enemy to make you not feel um, confident in yourself. So I never really was dating anyone, and like when I did want to date, it just never worked out. So it felt like something was wrong with me. And like I was always a nice guy. Like people knew I was a nice guy, even though I might have been doing like partying and stuff. I was still like a nice dude
Yeah.
and genuine and all that. But yeah, it just never worked out. So I'm just like, oh, maybe I just have to go after other people. Like even the one time I was with someone that was a Christian girl, it didn't work out, and they ended up turning atheist, and I was just confused. So that's like stuff like that was happening and making me go kind of back and forth in my faith. But then 2020, when a lot of the stuff was going down with the Black Lives Matter movement, um, I really felt God tugging at my heart again to just really lean into Him. And He just showed me that a lot of the people I've met in my life and a lot of the resources I have were given to me for a purpose and a reason. And then I started using it to like help raise money and funds for Just Homes, which is a ministry our church does, and like just helping organize the marches and different things in the skate community. Because I just realized, okay, I used to do like event planning and stuff in college, so I'm like I already have this background, so I might as well use it for good. And like
Yeah.
that's just kind of how it started, where I was like, okay, let me start hearing God and seeing what His will is for my life, and not just make decisions based off of what I think is best for me, but kind of like just see where he's leading me and directing me. And that helped me just really start living for him like way more. And since then, everything's just been amazing. So I met my wife at the skate march. I met my wife at the church march
Yeah.
the same day as the skate march I was organizing, which was on Go Skateboarding Day. So I helped the local skate shop in DC organize the skate march. We had like hundreds of skaters come out. Um,
That's awesome.
and I was telling her during the church march when I met her in the prayer group about my march coming right after, which was even more interesting because the church march started at church, ended at Malcolm X Park, Meridian Hill Park in DC, and then my march started at Malcolm X Park and went to Freedom Plaza.
Oh wow.
So it was just like everything was just crazy in that regard too. But then, yeah, I told her to pray for it, and then it went so well that I had to hit her up later in that week because I got her Instagram, and I was just like, "It went so well. Thank you for your prayers." And then we just kept talking from there, and that's a whole another story, which I don't think we have enough time to cover. But yeah, so basically, me and her just got really vulnerable pretty early on because of everything going on in the world at that time, and that made it easier for us to really start just talking about like our deepest struggles, which one for me was lust. So like I was letting her know everything about that, from like pornography to whatever past encounters, sexual
Yeah.
encounters, and different things. And she was a total opposite of the spectrum. Like never, like literally waited. Like it's always been a Christian since she was 4. Like her parents weren't like Christian, but she knew God for herself since she was a child and clung to it. She has a whole testimony behind her faith too that's like opposite of mine, and it just balanced us in such a way that it made it easier for me to and her to realize like, wow, we're really growing each other so fast. Like let's just get married. And we looked into what marriage really meant, and like we went through like the Michael Todd series and stuff, and just researched different things about what biblical marriage means compared to just the culture, and then it just made it so easy for us to decide. And then yeah, so I got married the next year, and there's a whole testimony behind how that happened, but God
Yeah.
provided for basically all of it and the honeymoon and everything. So that's like something that now I've used to glorify God, because every time people ask about it, I have to tell them about the prayer march and how God brought
Yeah.
me to her. Because I almost didn't want to go to that march because I was so busy that week. But
Yeah.
I was like, God was telling, I just felt Him telling me to go. So I wasn't going there looking for anyone, but I just met her through it. So it just that's just a big part of my testimony now, because I'm realizing how marriage was meant to glorify God, and um, it's just amazing to see. But yeah,
That's awesome, bro.
that's
Yeah.
basically it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an incredible testimony. And it's funny that like you talk about like the peaks and valleys of the journey, because it is a journey, you know. And I was talking to two of my buddies who are also believers, and grew up in the church same way. And then it's kind of like until you find out for yourself, you're gonna see your friends doing other things, and you're gonna want to like you know see what it is about, and I think a lot of us have very similar testimonies, man. But like I said, yours is beautiful because of the unique, well, just in general, testimonies are beautiful, but the uniqueness of your community, and I love the story about how you met your wife. Honestly, that's inspirational, because again, like it does glorify God, and I think that's super cool. That's super cool. So like, there's a lot of people listening to this podcast, Emo, and they're like, man, I love his testimony. I love just like how God helped him do a 180. So like, what are some things that like you think will help people as they try to like, grow closer to God themselves? They might be in a similar spot to you your senior year, and they want to grow closer to God now. What's some things that like you think helped you?
um, I think what's key is just community for one. It's just like you have to ground yourself in like a real Christian community, um, and that can be through serving in the church, or just like meeting friends in Christian, or finding friends in Christian circles, like that are interested in things that you like to do and stuff like that. But I just think if you don't have that, it's just so hard to walk it out, because all your other friends are going to be just telling you things opposite to what you believe. And it's going to make it harder for you, just because of the peer pressure and everything, to keep standing firm. But I would also say you have to be in the word, and you have to like try to let God speak to you through the word, because you can read a verse different times in your life, and He'll speak to you in different ways. If you just have to pray before you read for Him to give you that clarity and understanding, and He'll start revealing things to you that you might have never imagined. And then through that, you just start seeing His plan for your life. And once you start understanding what His plan is, or His will is for your life, it just makes life so much more joyful, because it's just like you see your purpose. And I think we all have a purpose. It's just some of us um, don't know what it is, because we're not in the word, we're not praying about it, we're not asking God, we're just doing things because we look at the culture and we're like, oh, culture says we need to do this, check off this, check off that, and that would make us happy. And then once you get to that point, you realize you're not happy. So it's
Yeah.
like I've seen that happen to so many people now in my life, even the Christians. It's because they're not they're still not fully like dying to self. They're still not letting go of what they think they need and letting God tell them what they need.
No, absolutely, and yeah, similar to like my other buddies, it's just like the community because we sharpen each other.
Hmm.
You know, I know me and you are in a prayer group together, and like we do get vulnerable and talk about a lot of things that we struggle as men. And I think some of the things that help all of us is to like realize, hey, you're not alone. In this walk. God is always with you. A and then B, you have like your kingdom family that's here with you, standing firm. In the battle.
Hmm.
And then again, just like knowing your word, like I think something that helped me is just like really diving in and like having consistent like self study,
Hmm.
and you're going closer to God. And I know we all, again, going back to like being around people who also feel the same way about God as you, because we all talked about how we all have our own self study. Hey, this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is the plan I'm using. And I think it helps us all, honestly.
Hmm.
You know, and
Yeah, I agree.
I think something that really stuck out with me for you, for like with you when I met you, was how you like you stand firm and you were like bold and you were just like always like looking to confess the gospel to people, let them know what truth is. And I thought that was always super cool. And I think it's easier if you're staying in Christian circles and you're talking about Jesus in Christian circles, but you're going into a different community and you're spreading the gospel in that community, no matter how it's perceived. The people who might be shunning God at the moment or don't know, and you're trying to spread the gospel. So I say like, yeah, definitely like kudos to you, and like that's inspirational for us when you do that, bro. Most definitely.
Yeah, I'd say real quick on that. I think I'm still learning how to best share the gospel too.
Yeah.
But what happened to me, the shift that happened to make it easier was that I'm not focused on um I guess the style that I saw growing up was like basically knocking on people's doors and like trying to give them a Bible or whatever a track and all that and like just like I don't know, people standing at the bars or like standing at
Yeah.
the school at the George Mason and stuff and just like saying, "Oh, you're going to hell if you don't repent."
Yeah.
And it's like that's I mean, I understand where how that can help in some little ways, but at the same time, if you don't have a relationship with someone, they're not gonna want anything to do with what you have to say. So I realized that like once like I kept asking God this to like let me see his people like he sees them because once you understand how God sees everyone, you learn
Mhm.
how to truly love on them and loving on them means you have to know them. You have to know their name. You have to like ask them how they're doing like if you're in the Uber like you don't just start preaching to them. You say, "Oh, what's your name? How are you doing?"
Yeah.
Maybe ask them something about their life and then from there be like, "Oh, do you need prayers for that?" And then they might be open just to you praying for them and then that's like a little plant seed planted right there because you can
Yeah.
pray in the word to them right there on the spot and then that just does so much more than like just telling them like oh Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior, here's a track, and then
Yeah.
thinking that you did your job. So that's been my way and my approach because again I don't think we can force it on people and God give us free will for a reason to make those choices. But I do think it's good to plant seeds and it's good to be a light in whatever space you're in. And if you're doing the will of God, he'll direct you to do things that people are gonna think is oh wow that's unique or whatever. But it's because it's not because I'm deciding to do it. It's because He's telling me that I should do it this way. And then they start drawing near to you and seeing something different about you and then from there they'll ask you about the Bible, and that's how I started being able to talk about it because people were asking me like I'm not like I've made it pretty apparent that I'm a Christian. Like I do it
Yeah.
on social media and in certain spaces when I'm leading events, I might shout it out a little bit. But like I wasn't just going up to people and just like always trying to preach to them. But if they ask me about it, I'll talk to them. Like I'll take time to make sure they really understand how to get in the Word and have a personal relationship.
I agree, and that's what's super big. I think, us as believers, we're peculiar people. So we're in the world, but not of the world. So like we stand out. And people notice like, what is it about this guy? What is it about this guy? And it'll keep like keep bothering, and they're gonna like ask you. They're gonna like say, hey. like, why are you so happy? Why are you?
Mm,
Where's this joy, this peace that comes that I feel I'm looking for that, and I might have shunned the gospel or grown closer to God before, but like there's something here, and then you go into community and you're like, oh, these other people have that same thing about them, and I, same way for me, like like just like trying to be myself, and I feel like it's my duty, it
mm,
really is a duty to like glorify God, because you're just living your life trying to grow closer to God, and I'm borderline like really like always like, hey, like is this glorifying God right now? Like just that constant mode is like, I think people see it, like what, so like I definitely see that in you, and I know like this podcast was super valuable to a lot of people. So like, Emo, what can people find you and like plug in with you if they have any questions, they want to like maybe go to a skate event where, or a Bible study you lead or anything like that? Where can people find you?
okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly on Instagram, I guess. So I'll say, yeah, my Instagram is skateboard homie. So it's SK and then the number 8, then BD, and then homie is emo backwards. So there's no E at the end. It's just HOMI. And that's actually been my tag basically since MySpace days, like middle school.
Oh
So
wow.
I just kept it going.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was like was. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
you're
right.
artist. You're artist. You're artist. No, but Emo, my brother, it's been amazing. I appreciate you for jumping on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. This is a blessing for me as well.
Ain't no doubt, brother. And then we're gonna do it again, most definitely.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Peace.
Wow, what a phenomenal episode with my brother Emo. Like just a young man who's standing bold for Christ, and he shares testimony wherever he goes. He has a beautiful wife, and that's a testimony too. It's like all of it's like glorifying God, and he just talked about like the journey of like of growing closer to God, peaks and valleys. And I'm super excited for him and his wife, and he's inspirational to me, and I know he provided a lot of value for everyone listening. So everyone, thank you for listening for the Masses Podcast.